Hello, everybody. This is the African Actions Network. So, this is the African Actions Network, and this is inside Liberia. Today, I want to something is happening in Africa, right? Um, so, let's talk about it. And it's all about Niger or Niger, whatever way you call it. It is a very serious issue, and no one should take it for granted. Niger is not the only African country in crisis. But at this stage, as it stands, if we all are not careful, there might be powers struggling, and Niger could serve as a spark of fire that could blaze on the continent of Africa. And that is why we all should be talking about the crisis in Niger. There's a lot going on in the world today, and if you are someone who loves to follow the news, you will know exactly what I'm talking and where am I coming from. But there's a reason why I'm saying we ought to be talking about Niger. I know there's a lot of discussion going about in the crisis in Niger, or what is like a very serious crisis expected to start from Niger. But a few things that I want to cross my eyes on before we even talk about Niger. But this is let me say it this way. Um, ECOWAS head of state met yesterday, and they took a decision. They have instructed the military to be on standby near Niger. While it is true that they said they're going to pursue all military means, but they have mandated the defense authorities from the different countries to be on standby. So when a military man is telling you, like, look, we need to get closer, it means that a bigger picture of what they want to do. But the people of Niger will suffer greatly. Now, this is not about the power struggle that I'm looking at or what we are seeing coming from the West and Russia, because that's another factor of what is going on in Niger. That's another factor. And that's the big picture of what will happen when care is not taken. I listened to NPR yesterday, and Americans are closely following what is going on in Niger. And the last news I listened to last time was like um, statements coming from US officials. It's like, it is there's little opportunity for the reinstatement of the president of Niger, meaning that the possibility to reinstate him is very slim at this time. I heard that from the US official yesterday, and there are analysis being made on social media as to the possibility of even the president surviving the crisis if and only if ECOWAS was to move in. There's concern now about the safety and security of President Bazoum. So that's a big concern about him, because he's not going to be released easily when there is a military intervention. But we know the coup plotters, they also are aware of you know the ICC, the International Criminal Court, if the leadership will take any action that will affect or that will kill the president of Niger. So because of that, they might be very careful in taking because the man was arrested or was placed on a house arrest, and he is under the leadership of the military regime right now. So anything that happens to him, the leadership there will be in serious problem. But there are a few things that I thought I could talk about. Um, there are a lot of conversation going on right now on the continent of Africa. But you know why? Personally, for me, Africa needs to start thinking about putting our house in order rather than declaring war somewhere else. I listened to a lot of comments. Even the ordinary people who probably don't know the issues are all saying things that they even do not know the implication of some of the things they are saying. Africans are all over the world. Have facts. Africans are all over the world. In America, Africans are here. People are making statement of confrontation. Can it solve the problem on the continent of Africa? Let us assume all of the Africans that are outside of Liberia, Nigeria, Niger, Ghana, Senegal, Kenya, South Africa, all over the place. If every one of them were to go back to Africa, first thing, do you have job for these people to survive? I doubt it. Do you have medical facilities? Yes. Some of the countries, yes. Some of the countries, no. So people have to be able to say, what is it that Africa should be doing at this time? I was listening to the Ghanaian president, and he said the best thing to do at this time for African countries to build systems. And that's the sound statement that I heard from him. To build systems. It's not about war. It's not about thinking that, okay, you know what? We have imperialists, we have colonial powers, and all of this stuff. In as much as these are issues, there was no reason for even our forefathers to have suffered like slaves. But at this time, what is most better? Do you have a job on the continent of Africa? Absolutely no. Just a few days ago, in the Mediterranean Sea, hundreds of people died. Because what? Nobody wants to suffer to die. Everybody wants some kind of opportunity. So all Africans need to do is to build a system and build the countries that they find themselves in. If you have the resources, you build a system, you well manage your resources. You wouldn't be talking about America, you wouldn't be talking about France, you wouldn't be talking about Russia. But the reason why some people are talking right now, I know for especially so those who are leaning on the side of Russia, is because some of them have already gotten some good package against their own people. Some people think now right now that Russia is not even your freedom. The way some of us sitting in America will talk freely. I could not be in Russia to do what I'm doing. No. Russian own people cannot freely speak. Then you want Russia to come on the continent of Africa to do what? Because very few of you are already like, you know what, we can get something from Russia. I'm not sure some of you even understand what is going on in the world. And it's not about, wanting people to suffer. You have to build your countries. Your respected countries must be built. Build systems. Your financial institutions. Get away with corruption. Fight to protect the resources that you have. Do the best you can. Build hospitals, clinics, school systems. Create job opportunities. You wouldn't be talking about colonial powers. I was thinking about myself. I was thinking this few days, and I said, you know why? There's probably a reason why there was slavery in Africa. Because it is like the very thing our leaders are doing now. Probably the leaders of yesterday were doing the same thing. They were probably taking few dollars, salt, slippers, and other stuff, and selling their own people away. because that was the only trade at the time that was very lucrative. So they were probably selling their own people. Few persons taking few bags of salt, um, alligator peppers, and against the will of the people. After they sold their own people, those people, nobody going to give you a bag of salt and take a black man somewhere, and then that black man will be like enjoying his life. He goes into plantation to go and start brushing cane farms and doing what he was not expected to do. At this stage of the continent, this place we find ourselves, a lot is happening. If I was able to advise any African leader, it's time for Africans to begin to think about looking at the continent of Africa and see how they can conduct themselves. Do you have system in Africa? Can Africans that are spread all over the world say, okay, you know why? There's too much going on. We all will have to leave and go back to Africa. Do you have jobs for these people? People whose system have already getting adjusted, okay, they run to hospital, they get treatment. Just anytime anybody gets sick, you say, well, let me go to the clinic, let me go to the hospital. Do you have the kind of a medical system that you'll be talking about? Okay, you know what? World affairs has nothing to do with you building your system. Somebody talk about, okay, for example, Niger. Niger has uranium and people need it for nuclear weapon and all of this stuff, and France want this thing. You have your resources. What is stopping you, African, to have a meeting? Now you're talking about meeting to go to fight war in Niger. There's nothing wrong. Nobody support, getting rid of a democratic system. I, for one, I do not support any military means of getting power. In the same vein, I do not accept anyone misusing power against the will of the people. So the only solution for Niger right now, if you were to ask me, I say, you know why? Africa will not begin to sit with Niger to strike a deal for them to return the country to democratic rule. How long? Maybe a year? Maybe 6 months? Because, somebody makes sense. I will listen to somebody and the person say, why if you were to invade Niger, is that going to be like someone going to be eating cake? The very first day, assuming that ECOWAS will really go in there, the very first day, people are going to die. People are going to die. Russia thought the same way yesterday. Russia. Putin thought he could just march on Ukraine. That was his thought. Okay? These are pictures, right? These are pictures of the both, should I say, leaders of Niger. But the picture I wanted to show you was, can I get to this quickly? Oh my God. Okay. No, this is not it. In short, what I'm saying to you all is that Russia has its own problem right now. Russia could not defeat Ukraine or has not defeated Ukraine. As I speak, the picture I wanted to show you was the picture that just yesterday in Moscow itself, fire blazing in there as a result of a strike from Ukraine. Putin never thought of that. He never had the slightest thought that war would have entered into Russia. So you guys who are the military leaders, civilian, quote unquote, civilian military group of persons, most of you people have had the experience of coup. Some of you came to power as a result of coup. You must have a way of resolving this issue free of military intervention. There are two pictures I wanted to show you people. The civilian, the citizens of Niger, they are like, but these are innocent people. They are the ones who are all in the street. I'm not hearing a lot of noise about, why we're against the military regime and all of this stuff. No. But guess what? By the time gunfire into Niger, you know what's going to happen? Citizens of Niger themselves are going to start killing one another in the first place. African leaders, you act like you don't know the problem. The war will not be between ECOWAS and Niger. There are some people who have been against other people on the continent, and not just on the continent, in Niger itself. Some of them are going to, sooner or later, you see what? Niger people are starving. So many persons are going to be seeking for wealth, seeking for food. And the only place they can get it from the fewer persons who are considered rich, they will be victims. Business people will be the victims. Go to Niger and find the first gunshot, especially so in the capital city. Situation will change. You will have people destroying that country. And I'm not sure there's going to be one more business to say we move in there strategically. Maybe, but I doubt it. Because Mali, Burkina Faso, Wagner, that's the thing I don't even want to hear. Africans are like, I listen to some permanent presence on the continent, and the thing they are even discussing now, I get scared for Africa. Honestly. I get scared for Africa. People are acting like they don't know what is going in the world. Some permanent sons and daughters of Africa are now like hailing Russia, and people are even advocating or agitating to have military regimes on the continent. It scares me. I get afraid when I hear these things. So whatever you guys are doing, you must be thinking about having more strategic meetings as to what you can do about Africa right now. It shouldn't be about, you know, God gave everyone opportunities to serve. If that man's service was to the point where he knew what he was doing, why even his own people would just come and take power away from him? Nobody's supporting for that. Nobody say, okay, the people were right to do it. But since it has happened, what next? Right now, there's no bloodbath in that country. We that from Liberia, we have experience of ECOMOG moving into Liberia. The crisis, people die. This in no way suggests to anybody that some of us hail those people who call themselves military leader. Don't support them. But hey, the greater picture, they're going to start firing over there. Right now, we understand that France, in fact, that we are hearing that there is what they call anti-coup uh, sentiment if the people are not already on the ground. So the chaos is going to be a situation that even ECOWAS will find it difficult to handle. These people, before you can kill them and get them out, you will destroy lives and property. Businesses will be destroyed. That is over with. Liberia is still suffering from 15 years of civil crisis. Liberia is still. So these are the implications that ECOWAS should be looking at in order to protect life and property. What is the best option? You place sanction on these people. Good enough. Maybe you can strengthen the sanction continuously. These people will give us someday when they know that for sure they are not an island. Well, Russia has sanctions already. But guess what? Russia's sanction will not hold to the extent where even you African leaders met Putin recently. And the issue now is, Putin feels he has allies. So, but let's assume that sanction could have been placed or sanction is placed on Niger and that everything is done to strengthen the sanction. Then just sit and keep monitoring, Niger is already a landlocked country. The only problem you're going to have is you must do a diplomatic discussion so that Algeria herself will agree with you to close her borders. With all of this I'm talking about, it's not going to be easy ride. The ordinary people, from what we are getting, they are already suffering the pinch of what is going on. So it's a difficult situation to see what is going on in the continent of Africa. Leaders are not taking this modern age is not a place for people to take things for granted. And let me just throw this in. Even Liberia, who is supposed to go for election, these kind of discussions are very necessary. God is also, maybe these things happening because some people need to learn some lesson. This is a complex situation that the world finds herself. No country needs a weak leader. No country. When I say weak leader, I'm not talking about being a military person. No country in the world needs a weak leader. Everybody will have to get prepared and meet the challenges of the world. So what is going to happen? Maybe the next 2 days, the news is going to be different. Several presidents have died. There was a bomb blast. The hundreds of persons died. Right now, people are finding the little they can to survive. But if you start firing guns, people are going to be what? People, maybe by this time, there's already fear from what we are gathering. Already fear in Niger. People are concerned, and some people are thinking about leaving the country already because of the ECOWAS meeting that just ended. Because people know what's going to happen. So sooner or later, these people going to Libya, going to Mali, Algeria, Burkina Faso. You know the story already. Some African going to Libya. You know some of the stories. Those Africans who been in Libya, you know the stories. So now video circulate and see people really be maltreated. And yet people don't think about those things. You start the war, people are going to find a way out. Other people are going to die, but the majority will want to get out of the country. At the end of the day, where do you get the resources from? The very international people we condemn you, we have to run to them. People sit on Facebook whole day like, oh, America has done this. Yeah, maybe someone will say, okay, you're in America. Yeah, I'm in America because why? Not because I'm in America, but I understand what America situations like. America has built her system. The Ukrainian war. I listened to one other joker just this morning. And God, how many person watching them there? He was like saying, healing. This is a time for Africa to have a revolution. And when I hear this kind of crazy stuff, I wonder what is going on in the world. But again, as a Bible believing person, I know a lot of things going to happen during the end times. So people will say things sometimes they not get themselves. If that crisis in Niger will be a serious point to bring wars on the continent of Africa, it will happen. Someone's I was in a conversation. Sometimes somebody said to me, even that whole desert land, you have no idea how that place turned to the desert. Many persons will have a lot of discussion. There are different theories about that. But let me just straight out this way. Why if Africa got engulfed with war, or the way some people are thinking, Russia and America get into a fist fight, and Africa is seen as enemy of America? Think about it and ask yourself what will happen to the continent of Africa. So America want to fire, God forbid. I just have to say this, I'm not my thought. I don't know what that's gonna mean. But let us assume like somebody want to use nuclear weapon. What will happen to you, African? What can you do? You have no system. You have had no idea. You have the uranium, you have the iron ore, you have the bauxite, you have gold, diamonds, and everything in it. What have you done? The common idea to unite yourself is not there. Even that little thing, Niger crisis, all of you are divided. Some people are pretending on this matter. As Georgia, even my own man in Liberia, I don't know. I didn't see him at the meetings, at the head of state meetings, but I saw him dancing. So I'm wondering whether this other African leader he's concerned too about what's going on. You know, so there's a lot going on. I mean, people may take it for granted. Like people are confronting other nations. Sometimes you're not even making analysis of the issues. You just get up maybe a Facebook. Yeah, we all even the Facebook we have it right now. People decide to close the Facebook down. What will you do? Do you have any? Is there any African uh, uh, um, social media platform that is solely created and managed without interconnections? Is there anything besides Facebook? Facebook is not owned by African. Twitter is not owned by African. Or what again? Um, YouTube is not owned by Africa. So let us assume all these people close all these things. What will happen? It becomes a matter of just people will just die. You know why sometimes crisis is not even increasing on the continent of Africa? Because sometimes some people wake up in the morning instead of even thinking so hard to commit suicide and do other stuff. At least they can ease their problem by going on the social media to have discussions and have friends who want to run the world, talking to them and making sure that they all get connected. But if this was a time for war, this is a war like the Ukrainian war. People least expected that technology would have been involved. But technology is playing a major role in the Ukrainian war. So you say there's war going on, okay, big powers are at one another. The Africans, instead of sitting and saying, you know what, we have to do this, and they make a decision, say, you know what, we will go and support Russia. You know what will happen in the first place? Africa will be divided further more. That's what's going to happen. The continent will be divided. There will be some African that will just say, well, we support Russia. Others will say, you know what, we support China. Other people will say, well, we support America. So you see it. So then if there is a war now, and those who I mean, I just think a little evil here. If America get people where they supply the best of weapon to them, and maybe Russia supply weapon, China supply weapon, then what happen? Africans kill Africans. You all kill one another. When you all kill one another sufficiently, then peace talk comes about. Right? You have no idea what's gonna happen. How many of you went to Libya to fight? How many of you went to Guinea? Or even when the Guinea when the Guinean president was overthrown? Burkina Faso, Mali. So there must be a way that leaders will sit and have some other discussion. I would have even thought that the summit yesterday would have gone a little bit more than just looking. Maybe there was some discussion because I watched from the onset. There might have been other things discussed behind the scene. But Africa must be prepared to think about the continent they find themselves in. Leaders must be thinking about themselves. If Africans are thinking about managing their resources, you wouldn't have France people discussing France. Oh no, France need the uranium to build their nuclear weapon and blah 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 and all of those stuff. These are just when you do these things. Guess what? The Africans that are in France, sooner or later, you can never tell when the world going to go to differently. Even in America, sometimes you just get in the street, people see like you're just from a different planet. While there is good and bad people here, you must understand it's because you leaders of Africa, you have failed to do what you're supposed to do for yourself and your people. That's why even the Mediterranean Sea, people are dying there. And those people who die in the Mediterranean Sea, most of them are Africans because you cannot provide for them. So what can you do? You want to move in with military force? Yes. You want to have resistance? Maybe we have military force. Who knows? Maybe President Bazoum himself, he might put him maybe on the ground somewhere. You know your military, you know what they can do. Or maybe staffing, right? except there's a good strategy. I mean, military people can do a lot of stuff. They can go and rescue that man. That probably would be good. But if you rescue him, what happened next? Do you go in there and reinstate him? Even if that man was reinstated, what happened next? Do you think the citizens of Niger are going to give him the kind of a respect as a president? I do not think so. The theory is good, that is to protect democracy, but democracy can be protected at a level where you give room and time that these people must change the country because they themselves, the military themselves, as I see them, other people are thinking now that military regime should be over Africa. That's pure nonsense. Some people are even thinking right now that look, you know why? It's time for revolutions. Why would people even start thinking this modern age, days and age? People are thinking so evil. Military regimes. I ask myself, say, really? Is that the only way you think and develop Africa? You know what military regime is all about? That is trying to control the freedom of the people, something that America does not subscribe to. America people, the freedom of everybody here. There are times situation goes wrong, but you must understand that you cannot sit and allow conflict to be on that continent. All you're going to see is death and suffering. Somebody will say, okay, folks in America, they have nothing to say because they maybe I'm not eating hamburger this morning, so nobody should tell me that I'm eating hamburger. I was eating banana, right? So all that I'm saying at this moment is war is not good. Crisis is not good. The very French weapons that are going to be fired going to take away lives. You're going to fire some weapons. Who knows? Maybe you have other intelligence in the place there already. People are also doing like underground work and all of this stuff. America made a private. I and maybe some now say, well, American are people who they just make some smart statement. It's less likely that Bazoum will be installed as president or reinstated. And that is why it is because the military guys they themselves they are from their cabinet. They are named their cabinet. So they themselves they are having their own strategic discussions and taking some steps. The longer they stay in power, they know what that would mean for the people and the support and all of those stuff. I think Echo made I'm not but I think Echo made some serious mistake from the onset. The pronouncement that was made, I think that was not too good. You know, if you wanted to have any military intervention, I think that should have been something worked out behind the scene. Why you persuade those fellows to, return to democratic governance. But the war is not just Niger, but the war is really, really, really a lot that is going on right now. And I think it require Africans in different countries to think about what to do. There's a lot going on. A lot going on. You know, like someone was sharing a video with me. Even the way the sun is shining today is a different situation. The climatic condition is different. Things are happening. There was fire in Hawaii. A lot of people died. There's in China, the flood, people died. Even in Africa, there must be a strategy how to even look at the climate change. Because some of the things we're looking at in China never have infrastructures. I think China has better infrastructure than most of the African countries. But we saw the flood right in the city of Beijing. That's what's scary. You see that video? You really see how the world is something is going somewhere that we probably don't know what is going on. So then people should be fighting to reduce crisis because what? Nature has its own way of dealing with situations. Nature has its own way of dealing with situations. Even Liberia, the water table now of Liberia is like it's rising. People will not take concern of those things. The bridges, the last time we saw the road leading from Monrovia through Bombay, the center of the road cut, and you could see just It was only the quota that was hanging. So I spoke about the breaches in Liberia before. People are not even thinking about those things. Everybody just want to get power. They don't sit down to consolidate the meet what they to get to recondition what they met. Everybody get on the team talking is the best way out. The country is bad. I think it's better so Joe Wilson not talking because probably he wouldn't know which direction to really get involved in. Because his earlier statement towards Ukraine, which was a perfect one, I support that we are for that. Because Russia was offered a mess to go into the people country and invade them, and then you want to turn the story around. All America is saying, Russia can end the war, just withdraw from the people country. Is there anything difficult for that? Withdraw from the people country. That's what you need to do. But the people should sit so you can go and kill them. I wouldn't support that. I support Ukraine to fight, and defend our territory. So then we go on the flip side, thinking about Africa, Niger situation. You go into Niger and open gun. Russia want to find a way of convincing her people. You know how many Russians have died and are dying as a result of the military incursion into Ukraine? And you want to start another one in Africa? You have to think twice. I know it's not going to be an immediate decision, but there's nothing wrong with making some other different strategy. People will say, oh, the just elected Nigerian president, he's weak. It's better to say he's weak than saying people are dying and they can't handle the situation. Let us say, oh yeah, Nigeria, ECHO is weak. As they say ECHO is weak, get down to drawing board, begin your strategy, begin to think what you can do, get to your people, parliamentarians making decisions, instructing their presidents, and do kind of stuff. Other than that, I mean, the world is a mess. If the crisis in Africa get to the extent where powers are, getting on the continent to play their games, ordinary people are going to be suffering. Ordinary people will suffer, you know. And I think that's what Africans should guard themselves against. If Africa were united, you wouldn't be seeing all these things, but greed, and corruption is the key thing that is causing the suffering in Africa. So the best you can do is look, call maybe the current ECOWAS leader or even the AU, collectively sit and ask yourself the questions. What is happening in the continent of Africa? Why are people leaving Africa continuously? Why the young people of Africa want to leave the continent? Find answers to those questions. You find answers, then you find solution to how you get down to work. Common electricity. Some of you are doing well, but others are not. Why don't you put pressure on those countries who are poorly performing to change the dynamics? Rather, war is not good. In fact, ECHO should have a very good lesson when she was in Liberia. The many Nigeria sacrificed for Liberia. Some of their children, and I say children, I mean the country, died in Liberia, and several of them. So as good as it is to defend democracy, you gotta always be thinking on the other side. The coup in Niger, I think it has I think it's like the people of Niger were not supportive of the government of Niger. Had that been the way in which things are going, the way we see the people in the street, those are signals that look, any military intervention will be chaotic because the people, some of them don't understand, but they might just die in an innocent fashion. Some of them will take guns when they don't even know how. Because Russia is going to pump the guns in there. Then Pigochi then will just go in there strategically position themselves and let the Nigerian, how you call it, Nigeria has the stronger army. So I'm not sure Libya is going to go in there. In a continent of Africa, how many countries will go in there? Mhm. So the big picture will be Nigeria. I'm not sure Ghana is going to send troops in there. If Ghana does that, because I think the Ghana president looking at the situation differently. I think he has a little sense of how he's thinking about Africa should be concerned about building systems. When I hear that, I feel that somebody will get a better mind, you know. And it's different to say it, but even Nigeria, Ghana, some of us being in Ghana, we know how Ghana looks. So it's all about time that you all begin to look at the continent in a very serious direction. The young people will not want to leave. Even just, for example, I told somebody, just the medical facility alone, you can better the medical system. You know how many Africans will want to take vacation and go for medical treatment in Africa? Thus giving money to back to Africa? Because somebody's supposed to do maybe some kind of low operation, you're going to pay thousands of dollars here. And you have going to get the same service in Africa. Why don't that person work and save some money, vacation time, say, okay, I'm going to do my operation on that side? But no African who in America want to do that. The first thing the person be thinking, oh, my life. They don't trust the system because well, you have not proven to any African that you have built a system that even your own people can rely on. Even those who call themselves leaders, the last time for Liberia, the foreign minister got involved in an accident. They flew in out of Liberia because no system. So that's how we talk across. We're going to be talking about Niger. We keep observing Niger very seriously, but the war is crazy. The Putin you all are relying on, the war in Ukraine is sending a different signal. And most of you should really be behind Putin to get out of Ukraine. Rather than saying, oh, we want war, we want revolution, this is time for a revolution. Why would any young African be thinking about that? You want war? Do you know the essence of war? Do you know what happened if you have Wagner in there? You know what happened? You know what Wagner wants? You think they're coming because they want to save you, they want to protect you, they want to give you good governance and all that stuff? What's the experience in dealing with mercenaries? Have you read about mercenaries? You know what they aim, what they do to survive, what they do, what they want when they move into your country. Or you want when they come, after some little time, then you'll start fighting them and then start killing you guys. When they kill you guys sufficiently, because these people are warriors. When they join the bridge of fight, okay, Niger, you guys can say, well, you know what, we can fight too, we can go in the bridges and fight. But then that's what we try to for. That's what we're talking. Do not get to that level where you want to be on the defensive in your own country against mercenary groups. So right now it's like the coup plotters, we are hearing that there are anti-coup plotters. So the moment this thing extends to another level, you're going to have different groups going to come out. Like Liberia, we have several factions. Some of you should read the history of Liberia. Like about 15 years of war, the bitter war that killed innocent people. Try to learn some of the lesson. Nigeria, you've been there. In the Biafra War, you've been there. I said that most of you people were not born during those days. Unless most of us were not born during those times. So there's no actual experience for you people as to most recent. Even those terrorists on the continent of Africa, why Africans have not come to the point where they will make a decision that we will make sure that terrorists, the jihadist groups, will not sit on the continent of Africa. But now Niger, everybody want to go to. So why you think go to Niger will not be an opportunity for even those terrorist groups to have a safe haven around Africa, especially West Africa? I mean, we want the best. If military intervention is going to be the best, will be done with carefulness and make sure the desired result is done, good enough. But for some of us, even we think beyond that. President Bazoum, I don't want eat a candidate for him before, but I don't see the possibility of reinstating him. I would love democracy in around the world. I support democracy, I support freedom. But would it be possible to get him back to govern? It's not going to be. If you want to start a peace discussion, you can start that now. What are some of the options? Give him life, maybe give him asylum, let him sit somewhere and adjust himself. If there would be elections open, you know, maybe in a year or so, and he feel confidence, he can go to people who support him, then that's be it. Then he go and participate in the elections again. Or else he's already see this man. I mean, his age, he can sit somewhere and get like the whole essence of this world. The end is you will die. So you can't fight to hold on to these powers until something else happens and other people you put other people to their graves earlier. You must be prepared to stand the test of time to negotiate, give and take. You see, putting under trouble is like so much to account for right now. And I just think he can't imagine it. So he keep extending himself. Even the African coming to all those things for me, I just shame. I mean, so that he can give some reason to the people of Russia to give, look, this is what we've done, this is what those kind of stuff. Why would you be fighting Ukraine? You're not even excelling on the battlefield, and you want to join other group on a different continent to do what? And some of you guys are now saying, I listened to this other EFF fellow. He talking like he has not studied. I don't know. Sometimes, but we keep watching everybody. You know, okay, you guns. All you're gonna do is kill one another. That's all you're gonna do in the continent. And then the continent is already poor. You make it turn it into a more desolate land. If we have gangsters in the continent, taking diamond and gold and bauxite and other things, what will you do? Mhm. If you had the Wagner group move in, they recruit people from other countries and they place them in Niger to get all of the minerals in there. When the mining go and people are there with their guns, what can you do? They turn and the people are terrorists or the mercenaries are terrorists. So when you get them there, what are you going to do? Can you say that we will fight people and get them out of our country? So these are some situations we always keep talking about. It's not easy. The world is a different place, and everybody should be thinking about a peaceful land. This country, this world, if we all could just love one another and sometimes give and take, it will be fine for everybody. Rather than somebody feel that there's superior rights and they should enjoy their rights and others don't have it. At the end of it, these are some of the situations. There's no leader that will demonstrate, you know, good leadership and that will give support for the upliftment of his or her citizens that the people will go against. But if you get a power you never had, mansion, and you build a mansion in the eyes of the people, you won't tell me what I'm going to say. They know you don't use your own money. This is how situation starts. You don't have money, you get your power, then the first thing is, oh, this is my time to enjoy. Forget everything. So like you're in a situation because another thing I thought to talk about was that Liberia's going to election. So if ECOWAS is seriously engaged in a gun battle in Niger, and there are civilians that are fleeing the conflict, and you have a tension over there, the free and fair election that you're seeking for in Liberia may just be problematic. I know some people tell what they're praying for now. Oh yeah, we hold the thing together so to the extent where even ECHO will not pay attention to or we'll do our own thing on the side. Mhm. And some people be crazy too. They might think about, okay, saying why not around here? We all can be, start our own crisis and all of this stuff. So when it starts in Niger, it might just be bad for everybody. That's what I want to leave with you all. Be thinking about it. Let other people keep talking. You have any friend that is close to these people, the best can be discussed. The talking can be on. There'll be decisions to take. ECOWAS is powerful, but ECOWAS begin to consolidate herself. And for example, do ECOWAS has a military force, a joint military force? I really do not think so. Africa, is there a military unit that represents Africa? That, for example, I mean, I said this: why would, if Africa had a military army, if ECOWAS had, not ECOWAS, if the African Union had a military army, by this time those terrorist groups will not be on the continent of Africa, because you would have, you know, people could be willing to die. You see, the Ukrainian is not because they are the most stronger force, but their willingness to defend their country is what getting stronger, and the support that America gives them, primarily, and other countries, democratic believing nations that decide to go on their side. Other than that, Russia would have wiped them out. But it's two to fight. They know they are dying. Some of them saying stretches, their friends are dying, but they don't give up. They keep pressing on. These are the situations that we all should keep our eyes on. When people are yearning for good life, you don't give them good life. Some people will say, well, me, instead of doing what, let me leave a country. Where can I leave a country? Where can I go? People start finding alternatives. Others will say, you know what, we just stay and do what I want to do. So when crisis comes, people embrace crisis, and then they fight to kill one another. If somebody get a car, someone been walking for a long time, going to kill somebody and take a car. Somebody get money, going to kill somebody and take their money. So the worst will start happening to African. African will start killing African. That's the simplest thing. The same way African were selling Africans, something that we really don't talk about much. The same thing will start happening. As much as it hurts to talk about slavery, because some of us we remember what the people did. But African leaders, you have an opportunity to face a continent. You face a continent, set up your financial institutions, a unit, set up your united army, you set up your agricultural whatever, you can make the big difference in the world. Africa has the opportunity. And let me be honest with you, there's a lot of factors that are interplaying today. But the kind of leaders that Africa has is just um, a situation that I'm not sure whether Africa will reach there in our lifetime. You know, there are a lot of good Africans who are wishing to see the change, but it's left with few leaders to begin to discuss the positive things. How many of you can even say in a minute, say, you know what, it's time to have a United States of Africa? How many of you will buy into that? What is stopping you guys to do it? But somebody want to say that, oh, blame America. Oh, America is the one who doing this. France is the one who doing that. Colonial thing, those things can be, it can work. But if you had a united force, you wouldn't be blaming people for doing this, doing that. But if Russia come and show money to you guys, you're taking money. Right now, everybody's talking about military. Then the other people had an investment and say, you know what, we will withdraw our investment. Or if the entire world say, you know why? Like for example, America, let me think those direct, man. Say America say, you know why? Africans don't want us on their continent. So all African, all those connected to Africa, the way they shaped our people before. You know, sometimes I think about this and I say, I wonder there was a situation besides what we read. Say, you know why? And I think that's just a story. Um, Africans were like, you know what? We are suffering. So the people back home, maybe they were thinking, you know what? People just can't. We very well, some will even play part to sell our own people But what we're hearing from the people are suffering. The emancipation, before the proclamation came into power, people started thinking we have to go back. People say, okay, say I want to go back. Congress make a decision, come up with the proclamation, setting you all free Africans. So it's time to go back. Do all they can, do their donations and everything, and fund a ship, send people back. So let's talk about it today. Whatever, why there's a serious war going on, God forbid, between America and the way we're hearing some full girl social media and all that crap. And anybody on the continent of Africa. And America came out and said, Congress said, you know why? With all of what we have done and blah, 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 we think it's time to get people back to their different respective countries. Can you take care of your own people? I'm not talking about one person, two person. I'm talking about just if there was a proclamation, can you? I know anybody can survive, right? But the numbers that we're looking at, there will be a chaotic situation on the continent of Africa. But if you have jobs, you don't even need to tell people. Everybody want to find opportunity. Get good medical facilities. People will want to go on the continent of Africa. There are some Americans here who want to be in Africa. We keep conversation with people. We know what people think. But if you do not have the system that can accommodate these people, they can only invest it when they come, they see some of the ugly situation, they say, no, this is not good for me. So, folks, that's how we want to do it and call this a day. We hope, personally for me, I do not want the country Nigeria to have a major decision that will make other African countries to buy into it for a military intervention. I know there was a summit. I know the decision from the summit, but please, military intervention might just be the worst for those poor people in our country. We know about war. Some of you don't know what they call pound cabbage, but that's what we're eating just to survive. So when we think about other people on the other part of the world, like Niger, the people are already suffering, when there's war in there, they will die in the numbers. And sometimes that's what we get to talk about. We don't say it because the way we see power moving, but innocent people, even they are dancing in the street, they don't know, they will have no idea. Liberia did the same thing. Liberians got in the street the same way the people of Niger are in the street. In the numbers. Will you trust me? By the time first or two guns, maybe in a day, real guns start firing in that place, trust me, everything gonna go head scatter. And that's what we don't hope for. Okay. Having said those, thank you so much for those of you who've been watching, and you can share the video or make a comment. I know this is an issue, everybody familiar with it, but hey, the solution should ECOWAS moving with a military force to reinstate Bazoum. If you say yes, why? If you say no, why? We wish to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. It was a pleasure to have you. Have a pleasant and a wonderful day. Again, I'm James Jensen, African Actions Network, to a radio inside Liberia.